evening, family. What's up, Flowing Life family? I'm glad that you guys can make it tonight. Or maybe you're part of our Flowing Life extended family. You haven't completely joined the family, but you're dropping in tonight as one of our guests. Regardless, I'm glad that you made it here tonight. And for those who will be jumping in even as we go, let us know where you're streaming from tonight. Let us know maybe about how you heard about the ministry. For the singles tonight is all about you. So I thank you for tuning in tonight to Flowing Life Outreach and Worship Center. I am Pastor Ty Francis, and tonight is our One Love Ministry for Singles Q&A. Listen, I know that we're going to talk about some really good topics tonight. I know that we're going to have some really good information tonight, and I can't wait to jump into it. But first, I do want to lay some groundwork and just give you guys some foundational things about what we do at the ministry, at least concerning our One Love Ministry for Singles. So our One Love, it means that one is a whole number. That's the name of our singles ministry. One is a whole and a complete number all by itself. Right? You'll probably hear this a lot tonight, but marriage is not the end goal. It's all about wholeness. It's all about you being one and complete, and satisfied and happy with who you are. I know that y'all hear this a lot in a lot of different singles ministry circles, but here at Flowing Life Outreach and Worship Center, our One Love Ministry for Singles, we are all about changing the narrative. And so even some of the things that we discussed tonight, we don't want it to just be cliche or things that you've heard before. I want to give you the green light to be able to ask some of those really hard questions, some of those things that the church sometimes doesn't cover, some things that you want to really know, but sometimes fearful to ask. This is the platform for it. Even though we are live, I want you guys to know that this is a family atmosphere. This is a family setting here at Flowing Life. This is a no judgment zone. This is a no judgment zone. This is a no judgment zone. And so whatever questions that you have, I'm not going to look down on you. Ain't going to be no shame. I'm not going to be laughing at you for asking any of those questions. But we do want to, I'm going to try my best to get to the ones that we have and then cover as much ground as we can tonight. So I hope that you feel welcome. I hope that you feel at home. If you're ever in the Charlotte area, feel free to come check us out at 2609 Central Avenue, where we are open. The doors of the church have reopened, and we are there every Sunday at 10 a.m. And look, here's a beautiful thing. If you're not in the Charlotte area, we got extended family in a few different states, as well as overseas. But if you want to be a part of what we're doing here, you can still be a part of our virtual family. And we stream 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Y'all know I got to plug that before we do this. But if you want to be a part of our Flowing Life family, you can put it in the comments. You can DM us. You can send us an email. You can jump on the stream and say, hey, this is my family. Pastor Ty, you my pastor. I want to be a part of what y'all doing. That's great. We'd love to have you. And so, again, this is One Love Ministry for Singles. I do want to give this disclaimer before we get started. I see some of you guys in there. What's up? I do want to give this brief disclaimer before we get started. What we will be sharing tonight is advice. It is a form of kind of a generic counseling. This is advice. It is exactly that. This is not anything that I want you to take away, taking your very personal individual situation and say, well, Pastor Ty said, and you apply it to that situation, that thing ends up all wrong. No. This is advice. This is general counseling, of course, with very specific situations. You always want to make sure that you have somebody, a counselor, a pastor, a mentor, a therapist, or somebody that you can talk to that can handle your very sensitive and very individual and specific situation. But of course, all the things that we're going to handle tonight, we're going to try our best to cover what we can. With that said, if there's anything that we cover tonight that does not fully answer your question. You should not feel ashamed to ask. I already told y'all this is a no judgment zone. But for whatever reason you don't feel comfortable putting it in the chat, please send us a message, DM, inbox us, email us, get in touch with us, because our whole goal, our whole the main theme for tonight, our whole overarching goal is for us to be able to reach you where you are. Is for us to be able to meet your needs. Is for us to be able to help you to walk in and operate in purpose. And so that's what we're here for. So as we get ready to get started, as I told you guys, if you have any questions, how we're going to do it is once we get started, you just go ahead and drop those questions in the feed. And I'll try my best to get to some of those as we go. And as we get started, I'm going to go ahead and pray. And we're going to jump right into this. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them, and we'll cover some things tonight. Father, I thank you for each individual on this stream right now and those that will jump in or maybe even see this at a later date. God, I thank you that you'll give solutions tonight. You'll give questions. God, I thank you that there are people jumping on here that desperately, that genuinely, that really need you, God. They really need clarity. Father, I thank you that tonight, that you'll make a decision much easier for somebody, that tonight that you'll cause them to be able to draw a distinction between what they should do and maybe shouldn't do. Father, I thank you that you'll make them sensitive to your voice. And I just thank you for a good time. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop those in the feed. And if not, or until they come, I do got some things, of course, always that I want to share with you guys, even generically, about being single and some things that we want to cover tonight. So you guys saw the title for our One Love ministry for singles tonight, and that is my waiting in vain? Is my waiting in vain? And tonight, what I really want to cover is waiting and dating. If you have questions along those lines, feel free to drop them. If they're outside of that fear, then if we have time, then I'll try to tackle them. But tonight, I really do want to hit some of those questions and thoughts and ideas and concerns about waiting and dating. Many times, people feel like I'm waiting. I'm doing the right things. I am seeking God. I am maintaining my purity, keeping my innocence, or maybe I did, maybe I did have sex before marriage. Maybe I did have sex outside of marriage, and I want to be restored. I want to do this right from this point on. I want to remain celibate. Whatever that looks like for you, in that waiting, oftentimes it can be challenging. Whether you desire to get married or whether you don't, God has put in all of us this desire to be cuddled, this desire for our hand to be held, this desire for someone to whisper sweet nothings or affirmations. We have this desire built in, whether you are looking to be married or not. We have this desire built in on the inside of us. And so oftentimes that time in between, whether we're waiting to get married or that time that we're just here on earth, that we're falling in love with God, we still have these desires, these innate desires on the inside of us. In this space, whether you're waiting or not, I'm going to say something right now and tonight that that hopefully won't mess some of y'all up, and hopefully y'all won't jump off the stream after I say this. But I'm going to say something tonight that I've been saying for a long time, and I stand by it when I say it. And before I say it, I'm going to remind you guys tonight, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and drop those in the feed as we go. I'm going to say something that is very bold, but I stand by it on everything that I believe. Marriage is not the end goal. Marriage is not the end goal. If you're watching for somebody, anybody, I just want you to put that in the chat. Marriage is not the end goal. And maybe even in all caps, marriage is not the end goal. I don't want to mess nobody up tonight. but I got to make this clear for you. Marriage is not the end goal. Marriage is not your goal in life. Man, if I could just get married, then everything will be all right. If I could just get married, then my parents will approve of me. They'll think that I did a good thing. If I can just get married, then all my friends will get off my case. If I can just get married, then I'll no longer deal with temptation. If I just get married, then I'll no longer have to worry about pornography. If I just get married, then I don't got to worry about this crazy dating scene right now. Marriage is not the end goal. Well, if marriage is not the end goal, then what is the end goal? The end goal that all of us should be pursuing and running after, whether we desire to be married or not, the end goal is wholeness. Somebody say wholeness. If you're at home or if you want to put it in the chat, however you want to do it, but say wholeness. The end goal is wholeness. The end goal is you being complete. The end goal, if you have a desire to be married, the end goal is for you to be able to bring 100% of you to a relationship. That is the end goal. The end goal is even after you get married, being able to maintain your wholeness, to be able to maintain your purity, to be able to maintain your righteousness and still be pleasing to God, even within that marriage. That is the end goal. And that's something that you can do even right now. Because here's the thing. A lot of people feel like something I said earlier. A lot of people feel like, well, if I just get married, then that'll take care of this temptation problem. If I just get married, then that'll take care of my eye that keeps wandering every single day. If I can just get married, then I'll stop watching some of these videos and some of these shows and some of these movies. If I just get married, then I'll stay off of that website. If I just get married, then maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to stay committed to one person instead of having multiple people on the side. If I could just get married, bro, that's a lie. That is a lie. Because I tell you, whatever and whoever you are before you get married is exactly what you will be when you get married. Marriage is not miraculously going to change you. Let's not even skip all the way to marriage, because some of y'all might not even be dating anybody right now. Finding somebody to date or settle down with, or talking or courting or whatever you want to call it, that is not going to change who you are. That is not going to keep you from looking at other people. That is not going to keep you from having another side in your another person in your pocket. They're not going to keep you from looking through videos online. They're not going to keep you from being impure. The only thing that's going to keep you is you making up your mind that you desire to be whole, that you desire to be complete, that you desire to be pleasing to God. That is the only thing that is going to keep you. I know this personally in my own life, and so I can say that with boldness, so that you know going into this, hey, this is something that I need to do for myself. I know this is it's cliche. It's one of those things that you hear all of the time. Side note. And I don't know, maybe you guys don't have any questions. Hey, that's cool. Because I got more than enough information to carry us for a good 3 hours. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. But I'll say this as well. I plan to go until about 7 o'clock. We're going to go for about an hour tonight, unless it gets really, really good and y'all force me to have to stay. So if you have any, go ahead and drop them in so we can tackle them. Look, I know it's very cliche for you to always hear, well, you don't need to be dating nobody. You just need to be dating Jesus. It just need to be you and Jesus. Jesus need to be your boo right now. You need to focus on you. And I know y'all get tired of hearing that. I know, some of y'all like, if one more person tell me that, I promise you, I'm going out and I'm finding somebody tomorrow. Like you get tired of hearing it after a while. But when I tell you it's the truth, I cannot lie. with me being on the other side of this. You saying, well, Pastor Ty, well, you ain't in the dating game right now. You don't know what that look like. You ain't single right now. You don't know how hard it is for us. For me being on the other side right now, a married man coming up on 9 years this year. As a married man looking back on that single life, that is one of the things that now, if you can hear it from anybody else, hear it from somebody who is on the other side, tell you that when I say wholeness is the end goal, that is the most important asset that you can bring into any relationship. Y'all ain't gonna want to hear this. But one of the most attractive things about somebody is their confidence and their security in who they are. One of the most the most attractive things about an individual is that they are not they're not jealous, they're not envious, they're not clingy, they're not spiteful, not always looking for an argument. They don't always have to be right. You don't have to worry about, whether, they got 2 or 3 girlfriends or whether they got 2 or 3 boyfriends. You don't got to worry about if they're committed to you. You know why you don't got to worry about any of that stuff? Because they are whole, because they are complete. So what you saying, Pastor Ty? So you saying that I have to be perfect before I can get ready to settle down? I'm not saying that you have to be perfect. None of us are perfect. We all got flaws. We all got mistakes. We all got history. We all got baggage. We all have it. What I'm saying is there should not be anything in your life that is unreconciled. There should not be anything in your life that you have not addressed. There should not be any skeletons in your closet that you are unaware of. There should not be any problems that you have not first brought to God and tried to address. Does this mean that you are going to be, again, perfect when you come into, I've handled everything and I've gone to a therapist and I've talked to my mentor and I've talked to counselors. And so I've gotten everything straight. And so now I'm perfect. I'm ready to be married. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready, but it puts you in good position. There's so many people that think, all right, well, God, I've reconciled everything. I've covered all the bases. I've cleaned out all of my closets. I've been serving for a long time. I go to church every week. I've been worshiping. I've been loving on you. I'm enjoying myself. I'm dating myself. I'm taking myself out to a movie. I'm taking myself out to lunch, and I enjoy myself. And I have a very healthy relationship with God. That is beautiful. That is awesome. I applaud you on that because there are not a lot of people like that. You are a unicorn. But does that mean that your husband or your wife is coming tomorrow? I know I'm about to get a few of y'all to log off of this stream when I say this. Just because you think you're ready doesn't mean that he's coming. Just because you got all your ducks in a row doesn't mean that she's coming. This is what Paul says in 1 Corinthians. It's chapter 7. He says, I actually wish that all of y'all could be like me. Y'all don't tune me out. Don't tune me out. I know y'all have heard this before, and this is one of those verses that y'all don't like to hear because this actually means that, man, I might have to wait a little bit longer. Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 7, he says, for I wish that all men were even as myself, but each one has his own gift from God, one in this manner and the other in that. But I say the unmarried and the widows, it is good for them if they remain even as I am. So what are you saying, Pastor Ty? Are you saying that I should remain unmarried? Are you saying that I will never get married? I'm not the one that can answer that. What I'm saying is Paul says here, the Apostle Paul, one of the greatest, one of the legends in the Bible, right? One of the people who had one of the most passionate, the fiercest hearts after God and the things of God and building the New Testament church. He says, I seen how y'all been doing things. And the way that y'all have been doing things is not quite working out for you. So let me give you some wisdom moving forward to help your life. And he says, I wish that all of you could be just like me, to be single. Because if you were single, then all of your attention and devotion would be given to God. But as a married man, as a married woman, and I can testify to this fact being on the other side, you are devoted to your wife. You are devoted to your kids. And so you're forced to split that. This is Bible, y'all. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. You're forced to divide that time between your obligation of marriage and your obligation to Christ. You're forced to split up that time. I know y'all have heard it before. All right, yeah, while I'm single, just enjoy the time while I'm single. But I'm ready to get married. I'm ready to settle down. I hear you. He's saying that you have a gift for both. You have a gift for singleness and you have a gift for marriage. So while you are single, you have a gift. There's a special grace that God has given you. There's a special grace that God has given you to be able to maintain, to be able to sustain, to be able to remain celibate, to be able to remain and to preserve your purity, even in a time when you are single. He's saying this is the perfect opportunity for you to travel the world. This is the perfect opportunity that if one day you wake up in the morning, you say, hey, I don't want to live here. I want to move somewhere else. This is the perfect opportunity for you to do it because your only devotion is to God. I can tell you on the other side, as a married man, I can't just wake up in the morning and decide I want to take a road trip. I can't just roll out the bed and I got a text message from one of my bros and he's talking about, hey, let's go to DC for the weekend. And I just up and just go. Even before kids, I could not do that. Right? I have a devotion. My time is divided. But he says that you have a gift for both. If y'all have any questions, feel free to drop these in the comments. Like I said, if you don't have any questions, I got enough content to go. But if you have any questions along these lines, feel free to drop these in the comment. This is where it gets really good, though. Paul says, but if you cannot exercise self-control, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. I say that this is where it gets really good because for some of y'all, this is kind of y'all scapegoat. For some of y'all, like this is your way out. For some of y'all, this is your get out of jail free card. For some of y'all, this is your loophole in scripture. And so you feel like, hey, well, Paul said it. The apostle, this is the one that sets order in the church. So if Paul said it, then it must be good. He says, for those of you who can't exercise self-control in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 9, if you can't exercise self-control, go ahead and marry. Because it's better to marry than to burn with passion. So if that's you streaming tonight and you're saying, man, you know what, Pastor Ty, right now I'm burning. Right now I'm passionate. Right now I'm feeling the heat. Right now I feel like I'm ready to be booed up like tonight. Like I'm ready to go. In so many words. I'd much rather you marry than for you to burn with passion. Here's the key part that a lot of y'all don't like to focus on this part right here. This was something I told you a little bit earlier. I said, whatever you are before you settle down, before you get into a relationship, before you get married, that's exactly what you will be once you cross that line. Ain't nothing changing. Marriage is not going to change you. Only person that can change you is God. Why do I say that? When he says at the very beginning of this verse, this is the part that we skip over. He said, but if they cannot exercise self-control, that's the key part that I think a lot of people jump over. He says, if, there's an if and then. It's contingent. He says, if you cannot exercise self-control, then yes, I'm giving you an out. Go ahead and get married because it is better for you to marry than for you to be out of control, to burn with passion and to burn in your sin. This is what he's saying. If you do not have self-control while you are single, you will not have self-control once you get married. Marriage ain't going to change it. Marriage is not going to change it. If you cannot control your private parts before you get married, you will not be able to control your private parts after you get married. I got to be very blunt with y'all tonight. If you if you find yourself watching all sorts of videos and movies just to get off before you get married, then you're going to do the same thing after you get married. If you get really jealous before you get married, it's not going to change after you get married. If it's hard for you to settle down and be committed to one person before marriage, nothing's going to change. Once you get married, it's going to be hard for you to be committed and to settle down to one person after you get married. He said, if you cannot practice self-control, it is better for you to burn. It's better for you to go to hell because you're going out and you're just you're throwing yourself on every single person that you see out there in the field. It's better for you to get married. At least it won't be sinful for you to have sex within the confines of marriage. He's saying it's better that you don't go to hell over this. All right, so your soul will be preserved. But what he's saying is if you cannot practice self-control, then once you get married, now whoever you married is going to have to deal with that lack of self-control. The word of God says that a man that a man that does not have self-control is like a city without walls. A man or woman without self-control is like a city without walls. And so I can imagine that God is saying, well, instead of losing your soul completely, let me at least give you some type of parameters within the confines of marriage that you can exercise your passions, right? But even if you decide to do that, you are like a city with no walls. And you wonder why sometimes people get married and the marriage falls apart after a few months. Yes, a few months. Pastor, don't nobody get married and then they get divorced after a few. Yes, a few months. You wonder why marriages don't last that long because you have one or maybe two, God forbid, you got two individuals that come together that are not whole, that are not complete, that do not have self-control. And yes, they both came together because they wanted to do the right thing. There's situations where, somebody has a baby out of wedlock. And maybe y'all not asking questions, maybe because I'm answering some of those questions. But if y'all got questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If I'm answering those questions, then let me know that I am, at least so I know we're on the right track. If not, like I told y'all, I got material to go. For some people who have a child out of wedlock, and I've talked to many people along these lines, and so I'm very sensitive to what goes on in many of those situations. If you have a baby out of wedlock, oftentimes one of the first things that you consider, or that couple might consider, is maybe we should just go ahead and get married. We already did it, right? Maybe this is the best thing for us to do, is just to go ahead and get married. Maybe we should just go ahead and tie the knot. We already did it, and maybe we should just make it good just by, for us just going ahead and committing to each other. This is the advice that I give. I told you at the beginning, this is advice. This is not to be taken all across the board and applied to your very specific situation, because maybe it doesn't apply to everybody. But this is just general advice. This is what I usually advise. Just because you had a baby out of wedlock does not mean that you need to marry that person that you slept with. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. Just because you had a baby out of wedlock does not mean that that is the person that you need to marry. If you marry an individual that does not desire even to be whole, I understand. There are situations where you have people that come together, and I don't want to assume everybody on this stream tonight is not whole. Everybody on this stream is not complete. Some of you are still recovering. Some of you are still being redeemed. Might be somebody streaming tonight. You say, hey, I haven't even been considering, being complete or wholeness. But tonight, man, I'm making up my mind to do that. I understand that everybody is not on the same path and in the same position. And so I want to be mindful of that as well. So I understand that you might have a couple who they maybe not on the same page, or maybe neither one of you really desire to be whole or have not even thought about or considered being whole. So I understand that sometimes people get married without being whole, without being complete. All right, you're already married, and so now you're just trying your best to make this work. The same rule of thumb applies. That if you did not have self-control before you get married, you will not have it within the confines of marriage. And if you do not have it in marriage, this is not something that your spouse can change. This is not something that your husband, that your wife can change. It is not until you make up in your mind a decision to say, God, I am ready to be whole. God, this is between me and you. God, there's some things that my spouse cannot fix. There's some things that the person that I'm seeing cannot fix. There are things that my significant other cannot fix, and they've tried it. But this is something between you and God, where you say, God, you're the only one that can fix this. Regardless of what situation that you find yourself in. In Romans chapter 12, in verse 1, it says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable, which is your reasonable service. So we're committing ourselves to Christ. But then in verse 2 of Romans chapter 12, I believe that the word of God gives us some very vital advice, even concerning waiting and dating and being single. And it says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It says, be not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. How does this apply to waiting? How does this apply to dating? How does this apply to my single life? Essentially what it's saying is, do not conform to what the world believes the dating scene, the waiting scene, the single scene should look like. Do not conform, but be ye transformed. What does conform mean? Conform means to comply with the rules of the behavior according to the socially accepted standards, the socially accepted norms. This is the standard. This is the bar that the world has created, that the secular arena has created, that we have to meet. This is what singleness should look like. This is their definition of wholeness. And wholeness just means I got over the last person that broke my heart, but I haven't addressed the last 5, right? This is their standard of what the dating scene looks like. Well, why don't you just speed date? Why don't you just go out with somebody different every single week and just see which one hits, see which one works, right? These are their standards. Pastor Ty, is there anything wrong with dating? That's a whole nother conversation by itself. There's absolutely nothing wrong with dating. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you spending time with another individual, trying to get to know them, or growing a friendship, right? Growing a friendship. Trying to see if this thing will or can evolve into something else. It gets tricky because sometimes you don't know if the other party is genuinely invested or interested in getting to know you, or if they just want to go out with somebody. I just need somebody to hang out with. I just need somebody to chill with. I just need somebody to text in the middle of the night. I just need somebody just to have on my arm because I'm a little insecure, right? You don't really know. That's a whole nother topic by itself. It says, do not be conformed. Right? Conform means to change something into something else, right? To mold something that was into something else that already exists, something else that is a social norm, that is socially acceptable, that is a social standard, right? But when the word of God says that be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, transform means to change something from one thing to another. It means to take what you have been taught, right? Take what you have been taught socially. Take what you have been taught on social media. Take what you have been taught by the news. Take what you have been taught by magazines. Take what you have been taught by Reels and TikTok. Take what you have been taught from secular arenas and transform that into what is God's standard. This is God's acceptable standard, God's acceptable norm. This is why it's so important that those two verses go together when he says, present your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and acceptable, which is your reasonable service. When he says your reasonable service, this is his acceptable standard. This is his reasonable norm. Reasonable. This means that this is the bare minimum. This is the standard. If you want to know God's standards, his standard, his bare minimum, his acceptable norm is your life as a living sacrifice. These two verses have to go together. That is your life as a sacrifice. You're saying, you know what, God? I care more about the things that you desire than the things that I desire for myself. That hurts. I don't need y'all to jump in the comments and say, hey, man, you can if you want to. I don't need you to jump in and say, yep, that's right, because I don't feel like you will, at least not on that one. God, I want what you desire for me more than I want what I desire for me. If that means that I got to wait a little bit longer, then so be it. If that means that, what I've been hoping for with this relationship is not going to come in the timing that I wanted, then so be it. If that means that I got to keep myself and hold myself just a little bit longer, then so be it, because I desire God more than anything. This is the transformation. This is his standard. Don't be conformed, be transformed. Don't conform to what the world will tell you. Hey, this is how you should do it. This is what you need to say. Hey, you just need to play hard to get. If you play hard to get, then they'll come chasing after you, right? All of these rules that are created to try to teach you or to conform you to a certain way of thinking. This is how you get them to bite. This is how you get their attention, right? I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, and I'm going to explain why I say 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10, if you're seeking God, going hard after the heart of God, and you desire what he desires for you, 9 times out of 10, that thing is going to show up without you even looking for it. I say 9 times out of 10 because I also understand I'm very spiritual, but I'm very practical at the same time. I believe in being very prayerful, but I believe in being very practical at the same time. I believe in being spiritual, but I believe in sometimes being very natural as well, because I want to give you things that you can take with you. Sometimes you do need to step out. You got people who are like, well, I'm waiting for the right person to come. I'm just waiting, God, I'm in your will and I'm doing things the right way, and I'm just going to wait until they come. But when's the last time that you actually went out so that you could be found? When's the last time that you actually went to I'm talking about clean fun, y'all. I ain't talking about trying to find somebody at the club, because wherever you go find them, if they enjoy that arena, then trust me, you bringing that arena home. I'm not talking about going to the bars. I'm not talking about none of stuff like that. I'm talking about just going out to places where you can find clean fun. I'm talking about whether it's church outings, or whether it's bowling, or if it's something like Barnes and Nobles, or if it's going out to the movies, going out in group settings with other singles. Any of those things, very practical things where you're putting yourself in a position to be found, right? But 9 times out of 10, I can guarantee you that if you say, God, my desire is that you would have your way in my life, and that whatever you desire for me, that's what I want for me too. That hurts. That hurts, because what you might find out is God's desire for you might be different than what you desire for yourself. That's the part that a lot of people don't want to hear, is that sometimes God's desire for you might be a little bit different than what you want for yourself. You'd be surprised, because I understand that a bunch of you guys, you probably got a list. Well, if he don't meet these 10 standards, then he ain't it. If she don't, if she don't cook, then she ain't it. If he don't got a job that make this amount of money, or if he don't got a job at all, then he ain't it. Right? If he ain't this tall, if he ain't this complexion, if he's not from this country, right? And you'll cancel so many people out because of your list, because of the things that you desire. This is what I found. I had a list, a very practical, very natural list, because people will tell you, if you don't know what you want, then, you'll just settle for anything. And settling is another thing. Somebody remind me to come back to that if I forget. Settling is a whole nother story by itself. But, people will tell you, you'll settle for anything. You need a list. And so that you need deal breakers on that list. And so that if they don't meet up to your standards, right? Then if they don't meet up to your standards, then you're settling. There's absolutely nothing wrong with making a list. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But this is what I encourage you to do, and this is what I challenge you to do, to take it a step further. Go ahead and make your list. Make it real cute. Make it real nice. You need to dress like this. You need to be this tall. You need to be from this area. She need to be athletic. She need to be flexible. She need to have curves, and he need to have muscles. Go ahead and make your little cute list. And after you get done with your nice little list, I want you to pray about the things that God desires for you. Because some of those things on your list might not be the things that are important. And maybe you do have a pretty decent list. Maybe you do have a list that goes down the bare essentials, where you say, hey, if he's not saved, it's a deal breaker. If he smokes, if he drinks, I don't know, if he doesn't like family and he doesn't want to have kids, those are deal breakers. Hey, those are legitimate things to have on your list. But I challenge you to take it a step further. God, what do you desire for me? For me personally. And these are not things that I can give y'all because it's so, I can only give you generic things. I can only give you examples, but this is something that you need for yourself. God, what do you desire for me? And I can tell you from a personal place that I was one of those people that on my list, I had a list. I chucked it, over time once I just started asking for God's desire. But when I did have a list, I had the bare essentials, what I thought was like, this is the bare minimum. Like, these are deal breakers, but this is the bare minimum of what I believe I need to coexist or align with my purpose, right? This is what I found out. That once I met my wife, initially when I met her, and we were just friends, and then it started getting a little bit more serious, and we started officially dating, I had concerns because I was thinking, all right, I know what I put on my list, and I'm not quite sure that she has all of those things, but I have peace about moving forward with every single step. Even before we were, talking or quote unquote dating, I was praying about everything. I was like, I don't even want to waste this girl's time unless, God, this is something that you are putting together. I don't understand it. You don't got to show me the big picture, but I don't want to waste their time. I don't want somebody that I can just date, just to say I'm dating. I don't want somebody just to say that I got somebody to spend time with and to grow together with. I don't want that. I want something a little bit deeper. I want something a little more serious. So I prayed about every step in our relationship, and every step God gave me peace. And the deeper and deeper we got into the relationship, because I was praying about every step, he didn't show me the big picture. I did not know this was going to be my wife. This wasn't one of those things where right when I saw her, it was love at first sight. It wasn't. This wasn't one of those things that right when I saw her, I said, oh, bro, that's wifey right there. It wasn't. It wasn't one of those moments where I said, oh, my gosh, she meets everything on the list. What could go wrong? It wasn't. It was not one of those moments. For me, it was, wow, she's attractive. For me, it was, man, she seems pretty cool. We started to talk. We started building the friendship. And the more I learned about her, the more I discovered about her, as we got deeper into our relationship, I started realizing, wow, she has some traits and qualities that I didn't even have on my list. There are things that she's carrying on the inside of her that I didn't even know to ask for. I knew the purpose that God had given me, at least in, in fragments. I knew that I was familiar with the gifts that God had put on the inside of me, bits and pieces of it. And so I thought that I knew what she would look like, how she would act, the gifts that were on the inside of her, because I figured I imagined what that puzzle piece needed to look like and sound like, and be like from a spiritual perspective, even in order to co-join and coexist with me and my purpose. I had no clue. It was better than I could have even imagined. Even before we got married, I'm not even talking about sex, y'all. I'm talking about purely the friendship, purely spiritual, from a gift, and talent and ability, perspective, and us being able to come together and fit jointly together perfectly almost. I'm talking about there were things I did not even know to pray for. There were things that I could not have put on my list because I didn't know that I needed them. There are areas that I had deficiencies in. I'm not talking about, hey, there's a void in my life and I've just not addressed it, and so I need her to come and complete me. Let me be very clear about that. This wasn't something where I needed her to complete me. I was whole. I was complete. She was whole. She was complete. But there were some areas there were some blind sides. That's probably a better way to say it. There were some blind spots in my area, in my life, that I did not know to pray about. I didn't know to ask for, did not know to put on my list because I could not see them. And so what happened was, as we grew in this relationship, the more and more I prayed about it, it started making me nervous because I told myself I will never marry a girl from the South. I don't know, man. It was just so many things about girls from the South, and I was just like, I had some bad experience, nothing real crazy, but just girls from the South. In the past, I was just like, I don't know if that's gonna work. Another thing I told myself, I said, man, I would never be a part of a long distance relationship. Ever. Never be in a long distance relationship. It happened for almost 2 years in a long distance relationship. And the thing I did not know to pray for is exactly what happened. When I tell y'all, first of all, that Southern hospitality. Is anybody on here streaming tonight from the South? Listen. And by the South, I mean anywhere south. North Carolina is kind of, borderline. But anywhere south of North Carolina. Oh, my God, that Southern hospitality, I did not know to ask for it. But my God, it was exactly what I needed. But even more importantly, I said I would never be in a long distance relationship. I needed somebody that was going to be right in the city. I needed somebody that was going to be within reach. I needed somebody that I could see on a regular basis. I got in this long distance relationship, and it was the best thing that I did not ask for. I hope all of this makes sense, y'all. And again, if y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Girls from the South know how to fight. Yeah, that's right. I ain't gonna say nothing about my wife, but all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna just nod my head and say, I see no lies. But this long distance relationship, it was one of the best things that I didn't know to ask for. This is just an example, y'all. I'm pretty sure you got things on your list that you think you need that probably that you don't have on your list that maybe you do need. I did not know to ask for this. And this was the best thing that happened to me that I did not know to ask for, because what came with this long distance relationship was the ability for us. First of all, let's be very practical and very natural. First of all, it allowed us to be able to avoid the temptation of sex. First of all, let's just put that out there. Let's just be wide open about that. You know that when you get into a relationship, that temptation is always there, regardless of how spiritual you think you are. Regardless of how deep you want to say that you are, no matter how spiritually mature you think you are, the desire is always there. And so I always say this. You put two people, I don't care how deep they are, you put two people of the opposite sex in a room long enough, late at night enough, feeling hot and bothered enough, something's going to go down. It might not go as far as others, but something's going to happen in that space. This was one of the beautiful things that I did not know to ask for, because immediately it alleviated or removed even that temptation of what could have been. Both of us were mature, both of us were complete and whole, but still that temptation is always there. The other thing is, it created space for us to still be able to focus our devotion and our attention completely on God. That was important. Just like Paul says, hey, a married man, he has to divide his attention between his devotion to his wife and his devotion to God. And you might say, well, if you're dating, you're not married yet, so you're not dividing your attention. Trust me, that's a lie. If you are dating, at least with the intent to get married or the intent to grow in this relationship, at least towards marriage, you are dividing your time between this individual and God, whether you think you are or not. Even if you say, oh, well, when we come together, we pray together. Oh, when we come together, we read the word together. We come together, we do spiritual things together. Yeah, that's cool. But you are dividing your time. You don't bring somebody in the throne room with you. You go in the throne room by yourself. On the day of judgment, you're not going there even with your spouse or your significant other. You're going by yourself. You are dividing your time between an individual and God. So this is something I did not know to pray for that God gave me. And so we were able to focus on our relationship with God, even being apart. We didn't get into the whole, trying to catch up every single weekend. It saved a whole lot of money. It was money that I needed to save up for the wedding, and I did not even know to ask for it. It was a lot of money. You save a whole lot of money when you ain't trying to go out every single weekend. You save a whole lot of money when you ain't trying to look for fun things to do. With you and your boyfriend, you and your girlfriend, the person that you're seeing, trying to find things around town because y'all don't want to stay in the house to avoid temptation, right? You save a lot of money doing that. Another thing that I did not know to ask for in this long distance relationship, it built up our communication. And so we weren't able to see each other face to face. And y'all know these face to face interaction, our social skills are going down the drain. The more social media ramps up. That's here nor there. But it forced us to focus on our social skills, our communication, which is one of the most important things in a marriage or in a relationship, is communication. When anybody asks me, hey, what's the most important thing about keeping a marriage going? Communication. That's for me. This is just advice, y'all. Communication is one of the most important things in any relationship. And this was something I did not know to ask for. I wasn't always able to see her facial expressions when she would say something or I would say something. I wasn't able to see her reaction all of the time. I wasn't able to see her body language, right? I wasn't able to dissect all of those things that you pick up on, all of those non-verbal communication tactics, right? I wasn't able to pick up on any of that. So all we had was our words. And so I had to use my words. I couldn't tell her how much I appreciate her and just put my hand around her, put it on the smalls of her back, or give her a big hug and to embrace her and to hold her, to let her know. Sometimes that's nonverbal communication, right? That's physical communication. We didn't have that, so we had to talk, right? When there was discord, when we disagreed, we had to talk. All we had was communication. Right? Even growing in the things of God, communicating even our learning styles or communicating how we've been growing in the word or what we learned this week and communicating what we got from the word, right? We weren't sitting under the same teaching. We were going to two different churches. And so it wasn't as easy as both of us got the word today, so we don't need to talk about what we got because we sat under the same thing. I needed to be able to communicate how I was being fed. And what the best ways for me to grow in the spirit, and her as well. It helped us with communication. So now that we're married, our communication is strong because that was something that was formed before we got married. Now we're able to focus on our devotion to God. Even while we're married, I don't need her to tell me to pray. I don't need her to tell me to read my word. I don't need her to tell me to spend time with God because that is something that was developed before we got married. And these are things that sometimes you don't know to ask for. And that's why it is very important that when you're making these lists, that you just go ahead and make 1 through 10. If you made 1 through 10, go ahead and make another 1 through 10, but leave all of them empty and say, God, what do you desire? Show me my blind spots. What is it that I'm not seeing? What is it that I don't even know to ask for? The person that you're looking for might not look like the person that God wants for you. This might mess some people up, but the person that the person that you're desiring, the person that God desires for you may be a different persuasion. Oh, so they might not be dark skinned. Maybe they're going to be light skinned. No, they might be white. Yeah, they might be Korean. They might be Mexican. They might be Chinese. They might be Japanese. All right. Yeah, I felt that I felt that in the spirit. A lot of y'all just tuned me out on that one. I know you don't want to hear it. The most important thing is, God, what do you desire for me? And the ultimate goal of marriage, if we go back to Adam and Eve, the ultimate goal of marriage is to fulfill God's purpose in the earth. Whether that is me by myself while I'm single doing it by myself. God, you gave me a purpose. You told me to name these animals. You told me to make sure that I tend to all of the fruit. You told me to take care of the earth, and you given me dominion over it. If that's what you told me to do, I'm going to fulfill my purpose while I'm single. But then God says, well, it's not good for you to be alone. I'm not talking about, all right, well, I'm single, so God says it's not good for me to be alone, so I need to jump and get married. No, that's not what he's talking about. He says it's not good for you to be alone because I've given you a task. I've given you a purpose. You're walking in it, but now you have reached your max capacity. You cannot go any further until I give you an addition. I'm going to be very honest with y'all tonight. That addition to your life may not be a spouse. I'm going to be completely honest with you tonight. That addition may not be a spouse, but for argument's sake or for you tonight, I'm going to say that maybe that is. He gave him purpose. He gave him a job. He gave him clarity. Adam was working what God gave him. And then he says, okay, now that you have reached max capacity, now that you've hit your glass ceiling, I need to add something to you that will allow you to take this a step further. Right? I need to bring you somebody that's going to help carry out the task that I have given you. God pulled Eve from Adam's rib. But how many times did God ask Adam, how do you want me to make her? Adam, what do you want her to look like? What complexion do you want her to be? How do you want her to speak? How do you want her to talk? How do you want her to walk? What do you want her curves to look like? Right? Well, what do you want her personality traits to be? What are the things that you want her to be interested in? Because I want to make sure that Eve is exactly what you desire. I want to make sure that Eve is exactly what you want. I want to make sure, Adam, that Eve is everything that you had on your list. Because if she's not, then she might be disqualified. How many times did God ask Adam what Adam wanted Eve to be like? I'll wait. He didn't ask because it wasn't up to Adam. It was between God and the purpose that he gave Adam. And so because God made Adam, he says, now let me make. He didn't ask Adam to make him. Matter of fact, he put Adam to sleep. He's saying to you tonight, I need you to take your mind off of this. Do I need to put you in a coma for a minute? Do I need to make you unconscious for a minute? Right? Do I need to cause calamity in your life to take your mind off of this for a minute? Right? What do I need to do in order for you to take your mind off of this so I can do what I've been trying to do your entire life? He didn't ask Adam to make her. He said, I made you, Adam. So now give me permission to make something for you. And God did. And when she was created, Adam said, whoa. Man. And that became her name. He said, woman, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And then they became one. I find it interesting that back in those days, they didn't have a typical marriage ceremony to pronounce that they were married. But that marriage was signified by the bed of marriage. By them having sex, by them coming together. It says, then they came together. That's when they were married. God made Adam. God made Eve, brought them together. They were both whole. They were both complete. This was God's plan. They were both whole. They were both complete. None of them lacking anything. You might say, all right, well, Adam, he was lacking a rib because he took it. Nobody brought them together, right? They were complete. And then they were married. This is all I'm asking you as I get ready to close tonight. I guess I must have answered all of y'all's questions tonight because I didn't see many in there. So I assume that maybe I answered them. But we're getting ready to finish. If you have any questions, I'm only going to give us about 5 more minutes. I'm going to finish on this note right here. This is all I'm saying. While you are waiting, I know it sounds cliche, and I always try my best not for things to be cliche, because right when you hear a cliche coming out, automatically you turn it off. Listen, marriage is not the end goal. It is wholeness. It is being complete. And if you're the person listening tonight and you say, well, I just need somebody. I'm not okay with being alone. You know, I just really, really want to get married. I really desire to have somebody that I can love and that I can pour myself into, and we can grow together, and somebody that can help me carry out God's purpose. If you're that person, then you're not ready to get married. I didn't say that you're not about to get married. I didn't say that God is not about to bring somebody into your life to get married. I said that you're not ready to get married. Because even now, your devotion is divided. You're not even married yet, and your devotion is already divided. Wholeness is the goal. And if you're the person streaming tonight and you say, well, Pastor, I feel like I'm whole. Pastor, I feel like I'm pretty complete. I feel like I've reconciled all of the areas in my life where there have been cavities, where there has been depression, where I've been hurt, where I've been bandaged and stitched up. I've addressed those areas, and I feel like I'm ready. If that is you, while you are waiting, I encourage you, the best thing that you can do is continue to seek God about what he desires for you, about who he desires. No, you're not asking, all right, God, show me who it is. What is his name? What does he look like? Does he live in the city? Is she coming tomorrow? Is it somebody I know, or is it somebody I'm meeting? No, I'm not asking you to specifically go out looking for an individual. What I'm saying is pray that God would show you what his desire is for you. Show you what his desire is for you. Because his desire is for you to be content with just you and him at the end of the day. God, I love you. I put that on anything, whether that person comes tomorrow or whether they come in another 3 years. I am content with you. But when you decide to bring them, I give you my vow that my attention will still be on you. I give you my vow that you still have all of me, and that I won't get lost in their eyes, so much so that I leave you hanging. He should be your first love. I'm going to try my best to get to these couple questions we got about 7 more minutes. We got about 7 more minutes left. Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. So my thoughts on women initiating. So one of the biggest scriptures. This is a very good question. The question is, just in case y'all don't see it in there, thoughts on women initiating. He that findeth a wife? ? Here's my thoughts on that. My personal convictions, my personal thoughts. Majority of the time when people ask about what about the woman initiating, what about she that findeth a husband? What if, a woman decides that she wants to make the first move, right? Usually in defense of he that findeth a wife, usually you already know he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor from God. That's the verse that's usually used 9 times out of 10. That's the verse that's used for it. I want to be very clear about this fact as well, though. In the context that verse was spoken, it was spoken in a conversation from a father to a son, right? This will help put things in context. It was a conversation in the Bible between a father and a son. If you can imagine my father sitting down with me, or if you can imagine me sitting down with my son, Tyler, and having a conversation with him, the conversation that I have with Tyler would be much different than the conversation that I have with Taylor. I hope that makes sense. And some of y'all probably imagine where I'm going, or you can answer the question just based on that by itself. The conversation would be different depending on who I'm talking to. Matter of fact, everybody that's on this stream tonight, if you were to ask me the same question, my answer might be different for each individual, just depending on its individual situation, right? In the context, is a father speaking to a son. And so obviously he's going to say, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor, because I'm talking to my son. I'm saying, son, when you find a wife, she will be a good thing and you will obtain favor with the Lord, right? But if I am talking to my daughter, it may not be exactly the same. I may not be as blunt as to say, hey, daughter, go find a husband, because she that finds the husband finds a good thing and obtaineth favor. Right? This relationship with God's purpose, it started with Adam. Another one of the things that people use. It started with Adam, and then Adam needed a help meet, right? And so God brought Eve to Adam, right? This is how I see it, again, from perspective. I don't think that there is anything wrong with a woman being found. He that findeth the wife, find the good thing. I don't think, and this might even tie into the whole dating apps situation, or a dating app thing. There are situations where if you are interested in someone, right? This is not me saying again, my personal convictions. I'm not the pastor. I'm not the counselor that's going to tell you, hey, if you feeling that guy, go ahead and buy him a ring and get on your knee and propose to that man. That's not me. If that's you, you know what I mean? Go for it. If those are your convictions, those are not my personal convictions. I would strongly advise not to do that. But when we're talking about initiating, right? Initiating looks different. And I'm just going based off the question that you gave me. Thoughts on women initiating. When you talk about initiating can be anything. Initiating is not just a proposal. Initiating is not you just getting on a knee. Initiating is not the woman going out buying a ring and saying, hey, I'm ready to get married. Hey, I'm ready for you to ring it up. I done bought my own ring. Initiating can be anything. Initiating can be initiating a conversation. It could be, I'm interested. I see somebody that I kind of like from a distance. We got mutual friends. I know enough about them to know that they're not crazy. They're not a murderer. They really do love God, because I see them in church, or I see them in other, concert settings, or we gone out in a group, and I've been able to see enough to know that I'm at least interested in getting to know them or becoming friends, right? Initiating could be as simple as introducing yourself. There is nothing wrong with introducing yourself. Hey, I'm Keisha. What's your name? Hey, nice to meet you. How long have you been going here? Initiating conversation. With that initiation, oftentimes you'll find out whether they're interested or not. I will be bold and say this. If a guy is interested, and again, I'm talking about a guy. I know different things that women do to, for you to know if they're interested, but I'm talking from a guy's perspective to answer this specific question. If a guy is interested, he will entertain the conversation. People have asked me before, all right, but what if he's shy? What if he's timid? What if he doesn't like being around people and he doesn't like talking that much? I know plenty of shy people, and I've talked to a couple shy people about this topic as well. And even people who are shy will entertain the conversation. It might be awkward entertainment, but they will entertain the conversation even if you initiate it. I'm not telling you that you need to go out and say, well, God told me that you're going to be my husband. Trust me, he will run. I'm not telling you to say, hey, I'm single, you single. Hey, so we might as well just go out on a date this weekend. I'm not telling you to do that. Initiation looks different. Initiating might just be that you have a mutual friend and you say, hey, what's up with so-and-so? Is he talking to anybody? Hey, you mind throwing me a lob? You mind throwing me an assist? You mind introducing us? You mind, next time y'all have an outing, hey, let me know because I want to come out. That's initiating, right? And so when you're talking about initiating, there's absolutely nothing wrong with initiating. There's absolutely nothing wrong in putting yourself in a position to be found. Like I said before, going out to some of these events instead of staying in your home thinking that he's just going to come and knock on your door, right? Those are all things that you do to initiate. Initiating sometimes is you're at a concert and instead of just going straight home, man, you know what? I think I'm going to hang out and just socialize for another 15 minutes, right? Just to meet some new people, just to network a little bit, just to expand my right? That's initiating. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I hope I answered the question. If not, then let me know. But that kind of segues into the dating apps as well. Personally, I do not think that there's anything wrong with dating apps. I don't think that there's anything wrong with meeting someone virtually. And I say that for a few different reasons. Follow me. With dating apps and with meeting people virtually, what I will say is you have to be very, 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 very careful. There are catfish. There are people out here lying, living lives that they ain't really about. There are people out here who even naturally you see their pictures and you're like, oh, they're gorgeous, they're beautiful, they're handsome. And then you see them in person and you're just like, this is not what I signed up for, right? You have to be very careful, especially virtually or in dating apps. That goes across the board. All of you guys are mature, y'all grown, y'all know how those things go. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. In the society in the day that we live in today, social media is taking over. I would argue that sometimes it is somewhat diminishing our social skills. But social media is on the rise to the extent that a good amount of the people that we meet on a regular basis are in most cases social media. The people that you think you don't actually know. You're friends on social media. So when you see them in public, you act like you know them, but you really don't know them from a physical or a social standpoint. I'll be transparent with you guys. It's not transparent like I'm sharing a secret. My wife and I, we met on a social media platform. Some of y'all didn't know that, so I'll give you a second for that to sink in. We met on a social media platform. It wasn't a dating app, but it was a social media platform. It was a radio networking website. We met on this website, and we were sending messages back and forth. Found out that we had mutual friends. At the time, we were in the same city. She was working in Virginia while I was living in Virginia. But even as she got ready to move away, we kept in touch. The friendship built, and then it did emerge into a relationship. We met on social media. Our very first date was our very first time seeing each other in person. This is why I'm able to say I don't see anything wrong with dating apps and meeting virtually, just because I've experienced in my personal life. And I believe that we did it the right way with integrity intact, and we did it very carefully. And we also had mutual friends. So it wasn't just a blind date, so to speak, where we knew nothing about them, or we're just meeting up. I don't know what you look like. I don't know nothing about you. But we had mutual friends as well as mutual interests as well. But our first time even seeing each other in person, that was our very first date. And again, it emerged and it grew, and we ended up getting married. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I would advise you to be very, very careful, because there are some crazy people out there that hide behind their computers and hide behind their phones. Also be very mindful that even if it's a Christian dating website, does not mean everybody on there is a Christian, does not mean everybody on there is a believer. I came up during a time in high school where locker room talk was crazy, where all of the guys who were tools, I'll just say that, all of the guys who were tools in the locker room, they wanted wholesome girls. They wanted Christian girls. They wanted virgins. And even if they weren't virgins, I want me a girl that's in church. I want a preacher's kid. I want one of them girls that, that's wholesome. That's what they're looking for. So just because it's a dating site, just because somebody says they're a Christian, don't believe the hype. Weigh it out by the Spirit, but also don't dupe yourself. Don't trick yourself. If you have mutual friends, cool. If you don't have mutual friends, I would strongly advise to second think that thing. That might not be a very wise thing to do. But personally, I don't see anything wrong with it. Completely. That's all I see in there. And I think we're over our time for the night. And so I'm going to go ahead and get ready to finish up tonight. I hope that some of the things that we shared with you guys tonight was helpful. For all of you guys who are part of our Flowing Life family, I love you guys and we appreciate you. I know y'all missing Lady Taryn tonight, but hopefully she'll be on the next one with us for our One Love ministry for singles. If you're not part of this ministry, but you've been following us closely, but you don't have a church home, hey, this is a great place to plug in. Even if you're not in the city of Charlotte, you could be part of our virtual family. You can check out our website at flowinglife.org. You could jump in the comments even right now. You can say, hey, I want to be a part of this fellowship right here, man. Y'all family. Pastor Ty, you my pastor. I want to be a part of what y'all doing. Then you can do that as well. If anything that we've shared tonight has been a blessing to you, I would encourage you. It is not mandatory, but I would encourage you. Consider being a blessing to the ministry at flowinglife.org, or conveniently via Cash App at Cash App Flow Center, flowinglife.org or Cash App Flow Center, FLOWCENTER. I love doing things like this. My wife loves it. Of course, because we're married, we are marriage coaches, and we love counseling and coaching married couples. But we have a passion and a heart and a desire for singles as well. And so know that you guys, y'all not forgotten. You're not left out. Don't let anybody put a label on you to think that just because you're single, you have less power. Paul said that both of the two are equal, that neither of the two gifts are greater than the other, singleness or marriage. Your gift is just as great even as you are single. But once you get married, just know that you'll be able to cover double ground, because your spouse will have some things that you don't got on the inside of you. But while you're single, your power is just as potent. So enjoy that time, enjoy that space, and continue to pursue wholeness and purity. Look, I love you guys. I appreciate you. I've enjoyed my time here tonight. And until next time, stay tuned. Follow us on social media here on Facebook. Go ahead and hit that like button on Facebook, or find us on IG under Flowing Life Charlotte, and follow us to stay tuned and up to date of some things that are coming down the pipeline, and things that are to come with some more events or things like this, our One Love ministry for singles, or for some of those outings in the local area. Hope to see you guys Wednesday night, 7 p.m. We'll be streaming live here, or Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Invite somebody with you, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you. Until next time, I want to pray with you real quick, and then we'll finish up. Father, I thank you for each individual on this stream, whether they're single or maybe somebody jumped in here and maybe they're married. Father, I just thank you that somebody tonight got something that they needed. Maybe a solution, maybe an answer, or clarity to something that they've been considering or thinking about. God, I thank you that most importantly, at the end of the day, that somebody tonight has transformed, has changed their way of thinking, Father, from marriage being the end goal to wholeness being the end goal. Father, or for somebody tonight understanding that they have their list and that's fine, but them pursuing you to ask you what your desire is for them and to leave those blanks for you to fill in. God, I thank you that you'll sustain, that you keep those who desire to be kept, and for those who don't desire to be kept, Father, that you'll keep them within your parameters of grace. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.